When we bought this house 3 years ago now, we decided to do a whole bunch of renovating inside, and we changed the color of the house and did a lot of work on the inside of the house. And one of the things I also did was dug a trail up the side of the mountain, because we have 5 acres here, but we really didn't have any access to get up the hill. So today what I'd like to do is take a tour up the hill, and I hope it's not going to be too bumpy here, but take a tour up the hill and show some of the things I've planted and kind of have a track record or a record of what it looks like today and what it's going to look like in the future. So that's the purpose of this video, and I wanted to talk about some of the plants I've been planting is really what I'm going to talk about a lot in this video. So we have this whole raspberry patch here. This is all kind of native raspberries, I guess, that just grow here where we are, and there's a stream that runs through the property. And we have a lot of raspberries growing, but what I've tried to do is move a whole bunch of raspberries over to this side of the road. And in addition to moving raspberries, we've also bought a couple of different kinds of varieties of raspberries that are supposed to do well, because we're at 8,200 feet here. So you can see on the front, I've put in, there's an apple tree actually growing right there, and I grew that one from seed. And then there's lilacs behind. It's a warm day for us up here. It's 90 degrees today. That's about the warmest we've had all summer, and today is September 2nd. So we have these raspberries here that I planted, and it looks like some critter has decided to come along and get most of them. Oh, how annoying. Well, I planted these gold raspberries, but some critters come along and gotten them. So I'm going to put a cage around this today. But these, I think, are actually ready. So these are gold raspberries. You can see I've got it on the rock there. And there were a bunch more yesterday, but some critter decided to come and get them from us. Darn chipmunks. All right, so we do have a lot of chipmunks around here, and they like to eat all of the stuff that we plant, which is typical for the mountains, I guess typical for everywhere. We also have a beehive here, and a lot of our bees, I can see them actually moving around. A lot of bees, native bees too. These are not our bees, but those are native bees on the flowers there. And so I've been moving raspberries along the front and putting lilacs in back, so you can see the lilacs back there. And then these are lilacs that I moved last year that are doing well this year, and new lilacs coming up out of the ground there. That's a raspberry down here. And then this is a grapevine that came from Carrie's grandma's yard, but it didn't take this year, and I think it's because there's always water down here, and I've learned recently that grapevines don't like to be in water, so they like it a little bit drier, and obviously that one didn't do well. These blue tubes that you'll see throughout this video are for UV light protection, supposed to help a lot with filtering out light that's not good and filtering in light that is good for plants, and so at least for getting plants started. There's an apple tree growing back there. And I'll probably end up moving these apple trees, but I wanted to get them somewhere where I could take care of them early on. These are currants that I've planted 3 different kinds of currants. And there were some currants back in here, yeah. The first year we've grown them, we've actually got some currants here. And they're bitter, but they're sweet as well. So that's pretty fun to have currants coming up and growing. The true test of all of this stuff that I've planted is going to be what it does over the winter and come back next year. So I'll show a picture of what this looked like. This is our Airstream, but I'll show a picture of what this area looked like when we bought the property. And it looks a lot different now. We've been working on retaining walls, and one of our neighbors came down and helped us build this rock wall in front so we'd have a place to park more things, park more people when we get people coming to visit us. And then I've been working on this rock wall down here as well. This is going to be kind of a longer tour of the property because it just takes a little while to tour it, but it should be kind of a good record of what we've done here. So this is Autumn Joy Sedum, and it's just coming up now and coming out. And the bees and the moths and the grasshopper that just hit me in the face and all the critters out here seem to really love it. So we've got this, I don't remember exactly what this one is, but we got that at Lowe's, and it didn't like it at first here, but now it seems to be quite happy in its new home and just getting new flowers. And then we planted Russian sage last year. The Russian sage, though, has not really done much this year. I don't know if it's because it's a wet year up here or what the reason is, but we've got one. We actually had 5 Russian sage plants. 2 of them died, and 3 of them came back. So that's number 2, and number 3 is down here. And this year I also put in some blackberries. So we've got 2 blackberry plants down here, and these have both taken very well, and hopefully we'll get some blackberries starting to come up in next year or the year after. Hopefully they survive the winter. One thing we've discovered that we don't like as much about the property where we are, really one of the only things we don't like about the property where we are, is being on a road, like being right on a road. Even though we don't have that much traffic, on holiday weekends especially, like Labor Day, like it is now, we do get more traffic coming up the road, even though it's just Jeep trails above us, and most of the time it's our neighbors that are driving by, but occasionally we have other people coming by as well. So all the goldenrod is out because it is that time of year, and we built this wall. Actually, I should show this. We built this wall to get more flat space up here as well on the property. So took and dug up a bunch of rocks that were here, because this used to be a driveway, a rock driveway for going up to the lower door on the house there. But it's no longer a rock driveway or a garage there, because we turned that into living space downstairs. And then I'm working on building out these planter boxes, so they'll probably be half the size that they currently are now, but we got this wood for free from the side of the road. Actually, these were motorcycle crates. They didn't look like this, but someone had basically had motorcycles delivered in these crates, and so we took the pieces and then reassembled them into what are going to become garden boxes out here and raised beds. And then when we bought the property, you couldn't even see this flagstone path out here, or patio, because whoever had previously owned the property had kind of let it fall into disrepair. So we are working on this area out here. We get rhubarb here, which was here, and then this is a clematis that we put in this year. It seems to be doing well and liking it here, so we'll probably put a trellis in here at some point for it to grow up on. And then we've got lilacs like crazy. So I've been moving lilacs from this bush and from that bush over there, and we're building a wall of lilacs along the front here. The lower portion of this area here, the greenhouse, actually belongs to our neighbors, and they're going to take it down at some point, because it was here when they bought too, and it needs to come down, but they haven't done it yet, and we want to build kind of a wall here just to have a nice upper area here, just a space that's kind of a nice space for sitting. And so we're going to put a wall of lilacs there. And then going back over to the other side of the road here, we brought in all of this rock this year to have the drive area and driveway be a lot bigger and a lot more obvious where people park and that sort of thing. So you can see that we've extended this space significantly. The driveway didn't used to go out there, but it gives us a lot more space for parking when people come to visit. And this mulch we got delivered for free from one of the local tree services. They needed a place to dump a bunch of mulch, and so we had them dump mulch here and spread it out so that we had more parking space on this side, and also to improve the soil that's over here over time. And I've been working on building these walls. They take a lot of work. They're called gabion walls, I guess, or this is a variation on a gabion wall, or a gabion wall. I'm not sure how you call it, but watched a couple of YouTube videos on those. Maybe I'll make my own YouTube video when I do more walls like this. But right now what we've got here is irises from Carrie's grandma's garden. And then this bluebell grape, I actually bought it from, I think, AA Vineyards. And you'll see a lot of grapes as we go up the hill here. Might actually get a chipmunk on video here. There's a chipmunk in our mine there. This was an old gold mine that they actually gated off in the late 2000s, and we can go in there, but it just goes into a collapsed mine, basically. And then going up the hill here, these are all grapevines from Carrie's grandma's vine that planted. Well, I stuck the sticks, chopped them up basically and stuck them in the dirt last year at the end of fall, and now they are growing what hopefully will be new grapevines for us here. And then we're going to go up the hill here, and I think those are Concord grapes that she had. We don't know for sure that they were Concord grapes, but I think they are. So the path I need to do a little more work on here, but you can see that it's possible to go up the hill on the path, which this was not here 3 years ago for us to be able to go up. So still need to keep working on it, build more steps in and build more space in, but it's been quite a thing to figure out how to get up this hill and how to make our space usable. So it's a little hike to get up here. But one of the big things I wanted to find out is if we could grow, well, what kinds of fruit trees we might be able to grow on our property. And so this blue tube here is actually an apple tree that I started from seed last fall, and then let it grow through the winter, and then planted it not too long ago. And it seems to have taken to its location here, which is great, and may at some point need to move it, but for now I think it's pretty good where it is. Wow. This is salvia, which is at the end of its growing season now, but it was really purple flowers earlier this year. And then I've planted lots of bluebell grapes, and all of them seem to have done pretty well this year. You can see inside of the grow tube down there. Not sure if you can see that or not, but they've done pretty well this year. I'm excited to see where they go. And then this is one of Carrie's grandma's grapes, which we're fairly certain are Concord grapes. And it seems to be really thriving in its blue tube. And then I got from, I don't remember where I bought them, but I bought a couple of Sweet 16 apple trees. And they seem to have really done well this year in the summertime here. And we'll see what happens if they survive the winter. That's going to be the true test to see what survives the winter. Our house sits at 8,200 feet and the property goes up to 8,600 feet. So for where I am right here, we're probably at about 8,300 feet. I'm about 100 feet above the house at this point. This is Dolgo crab apples. None of the crab apples I've planted have done anything this year. So we'll see if they come back next year. If they just needed some time to get set for the space. And then this is bluebell grapes. More bluebell grapes there. And these are a different type of grape. I wanted to try a few different kinds of grapes. So this is Itasca grapes. And this one actually, when it came, I only got 3 of these. But when it came, it wasn't looking good. So this one didn't do much and actually appears to have completely died off. But the other 2 Itascas are doing very well. You can actually see that one there, and then obviously this one growing right out of the top of the tube as it should. In this area here, I planted a bunch of comfrey. It looks like only one of the comfrey plants has come up, but comfrey is the kind of thing that will spread and grow, so hopefully we'll get some good comfrey out of that. And then the path continues up the hill here. And I've planted a couple of things from the Arbor Day Foundation. And honestly, none of the things that I got from the Arbor Day Foundation have done anything this year. So not really even worth mentioning, other than to say I hope they do something more, but they haven't yet. This is the other salvia plant here. It looks to be doing a little better in this location still, but yeah, they're kind of end of life for this year anyway, end of season. And then this is Cascade hops. And I planted these last year, and they definitely have come back this year. I think I need to get them more water in this area. We had a crazy wet year, but now it's very dry at the beginning of summer here. This part I haven't dug a path to yet, so this is just kind of raw hillside, but I planted a Honeycrisp apple tree here, and it's growing nicely out of the tube. It's probably 4 feet tall now, and it was just barely out of the top of the tube when I planted it, so it's had a lot of growth this year, which is great. Heading across the hill this way, this is one of the crab apples I mentioned that really hasn't done anything. But you can get sweet crab apples that are supposed to be able to grow well at elevation. So I got Dolgo crab apples, and then with the Arbor Day Foundation, they just sent me a couple of Sargent crab apples, which are good cross-pollinators for other kinds of apple trees. So that's why I have them, but don't anticipate eating those ever, the Sargent crab apples. This is the other Sweet 16 apple tree that I planted. Again, this one was just at the top of the level of the tube, so it's had some really good growth this year, and I hope it will make it well through the winter. If it does, I might get a couple more of these Sweet 16 apple trees, because they're supposed to be bred to grow well in cold climates, and the taste of them is supposed to be pretty phenomenal. So heading back to the path here, these are some wild red berries. I don't actually know what these are, so I probably won't eat them. Generally a good idea. But if anybody watching this video knows what these berries are and if they're edible, definitely let me know. Heading a little further up the hill. Getting a little windy. Sorry if you're getting a lot of wind sounds in the video. I planted a grape variety that's supposed to do well in high altitude, cooler climates. And this one is the third grape variety, or fourth grape variety, I guess, actually, because we have the Concords. And then we have the Bluebells, the Itascas, and these grapes are King of the North. And I didn't put the blue tubes on these grapes, and as a result, I'm able to see some actual small grapes that have grown on the blue King of the North here. So that's pretty exciting, the first year to have planted something and to have grapes growing from it. And we'll see what these continue to do. I know I need to get these on some wires next year so that they have space to actually grow and not be blown about in the wind so much. But you can see here, if we get to them before the chipmunks do, we'll probably actually get to try some grapes this year, which is pretty amazing considering it's our first year that we actually planted these. This here is another Dolgo crab apple. The last time I was up here, it had done absolutely nothing, and it still looks like it's done absolutely nothing. So we'll see if these crab apples do anything, or if I need to get them from somewhere else, or maybe the ones I got weren't great. We've had such a wet year, and now we're having so much sun that anything that isn't growing this year, I'm thinking, is going to not do well in most years here, because the weather this year has been pretty ideal for growing conditions for new plants. Pennsylvania? No. These are hazelnuts, American hazelnut, and we got these from the Arbor Day Foundation as well. Like I mentioned earlier, the things that I got from Arbor Day just haven't done anything this year. I don't know if this something got into them and made them sick, or if they just need time to actually put roots down and put leaves up next year, but not seeing a lot of life from those this year yet. I did skip one plant on the way up that I've planted. It was a Hallertau hops, but because I went up to where the grapes and the other apple trees are, we kind of skipped by that. But we do have one Hallertau hops that's growing, but very, very slowly. Those two sticks there with the green bag behind them are also hazelnuts, but not doing anything just yet. And then as we get up the hill here, you can see my water retention system that I'm working on way up the hill. And ideally just gravity feed to water the plants that we've put on the hill here during times when we'll need it, and have some rainwater collection as well on the hill to avoid any potential issues that we could have at some point with fires in the area, if we needed to be able to protect ourselves with that there would be some water here stored so that we could do something about it. These are end of season, you can tell just by looking at them, but these are our potatoes. So we put potatoes up here on the hill last year just from seed potatoes, and you can tell they're dying out at the top, but that means it's time to go digging. So I'll probably make a separate video about these potatoes specifically and see what we get from our potato plants this year. And finally, to end the video and just show our nice blue day and blue sky day and nice view of Mount Evans there in the distance. And this was really the purpose for digging the path up the hillside, was to have a nice place to sit and enjoy the view of the Colorado Rockies. So I don't know that much about high altitude fruit trees yet, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens this winter and learning a lot more about putting down mulch and protecting them over the winter time so that we can potentially have apple trees, maybe nectarines, maybe even some plums in the future I'd like to plant, maybe some cherry trees if they'll grow at our elevation here at about 8,200, 8,500 feet. And if they can make it through the winter on this south-facing hillside, I think we should have some pretty good options for growth for fruit trees. That is it. I will end this tour video for today. And thank you for taking the time to watch and check out what we're doing here in the mountains of Colorado.